All right. Hello, everybody. It's Public Works and Finance today. And it's just Sandra, Kelly, and I, because Drew had a last minute conflict. So first thing on our agenda is the approval of the Public Works Committee minutes for May 8th.
I really enjoyed them and I think we should approve them.
Okay, sounds good. Next on the agenda is the public meeting for the proposed lot division located directly south of Highway 8 at the terminus of Harrison Street. I'm sorry, I can't form my words today, with Amy Henrich. I always want to say Heinrich, but it's
Say it the way you want. Okay. I'll answer to both. Pleasure to be here today. As you stated, we have a lot division proposed south of Highway 8 at where Harrison terminates. So the applicants, Tim and Lori Chamberlain, have submitted a proposal to create two separate lots. These two new lots would be 21,440 square feet and 22,500 square feet, both roughly about half an acre of an existing parcel that is currently just over 1 acre. It's generally located, as we stated, south of Highway 8 at the terminus of Harrison. Both of these lots are currently vacant and have been used most recently for RV storage and garden sheds. I'm sure you're quite familiar with the location here. Highlighted there in the turquoise is the parcel that is proposed for a lot division. As I stated, the lot is currently just over an acre at 43,940 square feet. The applicant is proposing that the new lot line be drawn nearly down the middle, where the lots are almost very similar in size. This is a survey showing the exhibit of how those lots would be drawn. Current zoning for that particular lot is motor business. Within motor business, there are no minimum lot sizes. There is no minimum lot width. However, within the city of Moscow, any public street or any proposed lot must abut a public right of way by 40 feet. Both of these proposed lots meet those required minimums. So it is for those reasons that today's staff's recommendation would be to take public comment if applicable and approve the lot division with no conditions. And I'd be happy to take any questions you have.
I didn't realize that Harrison had that little stub right there.
Yeah, it's not quite developed. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I don't think many people do. It's kind of access to some of those adjoining businesses. It's not fully developed. So I don't think people realize that that is city right away.
So the two lots that are right on the highway will remain just like they are.
Correct.
Okay.
Nope.
I don't really have any questions on it.
I don't either. Though, I mean, gosh, the only question I have has nothing to do with how it looks. I just wondered if there was a plan that they want to do yet or not. And it might not even be any of my business because it meets all the requirements and it looks good.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know that lot has been up for sale for quite some time.
That's right.
So there is potential that maybe there's an offer out there.
Yeah.
I can't really speak to that. But
Nope, that's okay.
All right. I would recommend that we approve what?
If you want to ask if anybody's
I know, I
in the
know what
audience would
Bill's
like to provide comments.
Oh, because it's a public
Yep.
meeting.
Yeah.
So do we have any comments for, right? Is that how to do it for and against?
You don't have to run it that
Okay.
formally. It's not a public hearing. You just ask if anybody in the audience would like to provide any comments on the proposal.
All right. Does anybody want to provide any comments on the proposal? No?
Okay. Yeah, I agree. Let's move it along. That sounds good.
All right. So we recommend the approval of the lot division request with no conditions.
Yep.
And this would go on the
Consent.
consent agenda.
Is that right?
Again,
thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. Next on the agenda is the Latah County and Cities disposal agreements with Tim Davis.
Good afternoon.
Welcome.
This is going to be a brief one. There's not a lot of details to speak to.
So sad.
Unless you have
I
questions.
know, it's like visiting with you.
The the city of Moscow has had disposal agreements with Latah County, as well as the cities of Beauville, Deary, Julietta, Kendrick, Genesee, Potlatch, and Troy since 1993, when the local municipal solid waste landfill was closed, and we started shipping our MSW down to the Columbia River Basin landfills. Back in those years, there were many changes taking place in the solid waste handling. At that time, the city of Moscow took the lead on solid waste management, disposal, and recycling services. The disposal contracts before you today are set to expire September 30th, 2023. These municipalities do wish to continue these services with the city of Moscow. The new disposal agreements are very similar to the existing agreements, with the exception of the fuel relief that was granted to Finley Butte's partnership in 2022 for transport and disposal of MSW. The city of Moscow also conducts periodic rate studies, so we can determine current and future costs of solid waste processing and disposal services and any necessary annual adjustments that we may need to make. With that, I would be happy to ask any questions that you may have.
The only one I ever have is on things like this, because that is such your world. And it seems like things have gone well with all these groups in the past. Was there anything that surprised you this go around that you're a little more aware of or focusing on a little bit more, or is it just pretty smooth?
Pretty straightforward.
Great.
Pretty straightforward. They've all been good partners in the solid waste system. It's pretty rare to see a city take the lead like Moscow does. It's normally the county that takes the lead, but back in the day, I don't have all of the details, but the city stepped up, and
Great.
that's where we're at. That's where we continue to go. So,
All right. And they do have an annual adjustment for the fees.
yes. And I think there was a Schedule A attached to the documents that shows out the first 5 years. I believe it's a 1.5% increase each year, plus whatever that fuel surcharge or credit would end up being each month. That's recalculated each month, depending on the changes in the price of diesel fuel.
Okay.
I haven't even paid attention recently on diesel fuel. What
Seems to be
petered
staying
out a
pretty
little bit?
steady.
Okay.
It's been running about what,
It's
$4.45?
come down a little bit. It's below $5 a gallon, so it's in that $4 to $4.50 a gallon right now.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
No, it seems good and straightforward, and all the things that we're happy when you come visit us. So sometimes I'm like, oh no, what's happened? But
I know this was
so we just approve I didn't read what's
approve
our,
the disposal agreements with the Latah County cities of Beauville, Deary, Julietta, Kendrick, Genesee, Potlatch, and Troy.
can we do that on consent?
You can?
Great. Is that okay with you? I don't want to jump ahead.
Yeah. I don't think this is a controversial topic.
Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. I don't think so.
I
either.
mean, it could be if something happened. All right, next on the agenda is the Health Insurance Program Amendment Proposal.
Okay, thank you. So just like to provide a little bit of background on our health insurance benefits here at the City of Moscow. This is something that as I moved into the role now about a year and a half ago, I attended a number of meetings with other city administrators. And one of the things that, we were always struggling with our health insurance program, the cost. We just recently launched the 3 different options. We'll be just beginning in August, our 3rd year underneath that plan. But one of the things I always like to understand is what was happening in other market areas and what was the cost burden on other employees. And more often than not, the answers I was receiving from other cities was showing that our cost burden appeared to be much higher, and that's really what this research is intended to talk about today. So just as a recap, we do have 3 separate medical plans and 2 different dental plans and then 1 vision plan. Underneath medical, we have 2 preferred provider plans. One has a $300 deductible and the other has a $1,500 deductible. They both have a maximum out of pocket of $3,500 and $7,000. That's not technically correct in the sense that from Regence's perspective, it's a 5,000, 10,000, but we pay an additional self-insure buy down to make that out of pocket down to that 3,500 and 7,000. So that's through peak one. We pay $5 a month per employee, and that buys down that maximum out of pocket down to that level. For many, many years, really from the time that I started with the city in 2002, the city's insurance plan was the $300 deductible PPO plan. There was a concern that that was becoming too costly, and so we shifted to the $1,500 deductible plan. We kept the $300 plan available, but the employees have to pay the cost difference. So the $1,500 PPO plan is kind of our base plan.
Gotcha.
We also have a optional health savings account. So it's a high deductible. The deductible and maximum out of pocket are the same, $5,000 per individual, $10,000 for a family. And for that particular plan, we actually take whatever premium savings the city realizes for employees participating in the health savings account, and we contribute that to their health savings account for them. Underneath dental, we have two. We have a Willamette Dental. Tends to be more cost effective for orthodontia and some of the larger procedures. And then we also have a Regence plan as an option that's a lower cost. So the Willamette is a little bit more expensive. The Regence is a little bit lower cost option. And then Visions is covered by VSP. We do currently cover 100% of the employees' insurance premiums for anybody that's working 30 hours or more with the city. And we cover 50% of the dependent premium cost. Again, that's all at that 1,500 PPO level. The employee has to pay the cost difference between those two plans. For the HSA participants, as I mentioned, we compare the premium cost the city pays to the base 1,500 plan, and then we make that as a contribution to their health savings account, so that essentially no matter what plan an employee selects, whether it's 300 or the 1,500 or the HSA, the city's contribution is the same to every employee. So it makes it easier for us to budget. Also, it makes it more equitable among the different employees. If you look at our history of rate increases, so the year there on the left, the premium increase in the center, and then our loss ratio, which is really the percentage of premiums that were paid out to claims. And obviously the insurer likes to see that closer to the 80% range. So 2019, we had a difficult year with a 23.24% loss ratio, but you can see our premium increases have generally been 5% or less since 2019, but this year we did see a substantially higher premium increase. So it's an 8.8% increase, and that's, I call that a blended rate because we actually got different premium increases per plan this year, which is the first time we saw that from Regence. That increase was based on where our experience was trending for the current year. So at the time, this was as of December, our experience for the year or the loss ratio was 97.5%. So they'd virtually paid out everything they'd received in premiums to claims. And that loss ratio increased for the month of January to over 120%. So we do have some fairly significant claims among our group. So as I mentioned, that was a blended rate. So for the 300 PPO plan, it was a 12.2% increase in the premium, 7.94% on the 1,500 plan, and 4.17% on the health savings account option. Willamette Dental was seeking a 10.2% increase this year, but agreed to phase that in over the course of 2 years. So that increase for this year will be 5.9%. Regence will be 1.17%, and there was no increase on vision coverage this year. So this kind of just shows the total premium cost. So this is for the $1,500 base plan. You can see the premium is going to range from $814 for just the employee up to just under $2,500 for a full family coverage. The city share of that cost, again, the employee, it's $814, and then that scales up to $1,630 for a full family.
For months? Each month?
Per month, correct.
Okay,
Month
thank
cost, yes. And on the employee side, then their cost per month will be nothing for the employee as we cover all of that. But then as you add a spouse, it'll be $444 a month, and then continuing up to $816 per month to the employee for full family coverage. These are just the same numbers for the 300 PPO plan. Again, our cost, that city center column remains the same. And then just any difference in the premium cost between that the employee would bear. So on a monthly basis, the 300 plan will cost over $1,000 a month for a full family for the employee.
Yikes.
The employee cost is increasing considerably on a percentage basis. It went up about 88% because it was about 39 and it just went up another 34 or something like that. So essentially it was a large percentage cost difference, but on the full family side it is going to be fairly high.
Do you know if that's been standard throughout other, not just in the city, but just?
These rate increases, they're all going to be individual to your experience and the loss ratio of your group. So it's hard to translate. It's going to be unique to, and we have a fairly small group size. We have 160 participants. And it actually kind of generally fluctuates around 154, 155 because we usually have a vacancy or two. So we have a fairly small group, and it's really going to depend upon the claims that that group sees. That really drives. I don't think I have it on this slide, but looking at total premium cost, our premiums are a little bit higher than the average. If you look at the Northwest Data Exchange data, and I'll have a slide that shows that. If you compare our premiums to the 4 peer cities I'm going to be talking about, they're pretty close, within 10% of their total premium cost. So looking at the HSA, again, not seeing as substantial of an increase on the HSA, that's 4.17%. Shows the total premium costs, the city's cost, the employee's cost, and then essentially what we would be making as a contribution to their health savings account. So that will range from $2,300 for just an employee. And again, that is just the premium savings the city realizes on our portion of their insurance cost, up to $4,000 for a full family. And those are up fairly significantly from last year because of that differential rate increase. When that 1,500 plan goes up, then essentially the savings, and faster than the HSA went up, then the savings to the city is greater. It ends up being a larger transfer. So we were $1,830 on the individual last year. So this year that would move up to $2,300.
It's a big jump.
And that's those premium costs. That is both medical, it's dental. I included Willamette because that's the higher cost option. It's about $15 a month more, and vision costs. So that's not just health insurance. That's essentially all benefit costs to the employee. So this slide just shows you the cost to the employee change between the current plan year and the one coming up here in August. So if you look at the 300 PPO plan on the left, the center column there is the monthly change that employee is going to see, the annual change, and the percent that it went up. So for that particular plan, the individual cost is going up that $34.60. I think it's currently $39. So the total annual cost is going to be additional. The cost would go up $160 per month, or about $1,947 over the course of the year. A little bit smaller increases on the base plan, again, ranging from no increase on the employees, since we cover the 100% at that level, up to $58, just under $60 a month for a full family coverage, or about $700 for the year. Smaller increases on a percentage basis, so no increase on the employee alone, and then full family goes up about $27 a month would be their cost increase. Now, this is all assuming we make no modifications or changes to our current plan. So as I mentioned in the memo, I did compare our cost across 2 different data sources. One is the Northwest Data Exchange, which is a service that Ameriben provides that we subscribe to and pay an annual subscription fee, and allows us access into compensation and benefit data within the Pacific Northwest region. So we pulled out the surveys. This is 39 other public agencies in the Pacific Northwest. They can range from school districts to counties to cities to special purpose districts. And you'll see there on the top row there, the average premium cost for both single and family. So across those 39 agencies, the average cost for a single individual is $737. It's very comparable to what we would see at $755 for the individual. On the family side, and it shows as $1,971 for us, $2,269. Again, this is just showing the medical side, not including the vision or dental. But where you see some of the big disparity is kind of the average employee cost for those services. So on the employee side, you'll see for the survey, for a single individual, and there are a few cities that require employees to contribute to their own cost. We cover that 100%. So there are a few in there that brought that average to $25 a month. The employee has to contribute. And on the full family, the survey average was $378 per month. That's compared to our current $816 per month they'd have to pay. Our deductibles are in the range, but slightly higher than the survey average. So you can see the deductibles for the single average 1,247, family 2,300, and we are at our 1,500 and I'm sorry, 1,500 deductible, 3,500 for the family. Yeah. And then just the bottom just kind of shows it on a percentage basis. Again, the bottom line is on the survey average. Typically, 79% of dependent care costs, we cover 50% currently. We also pulled information from kind of 4 cities closest to us in our labor market that we probably are most likely competing with. So Coeur d'Alene, Lewiston, Post Falls, and Pullman. Pullman actually has 3 different plans, and actually the city covers 100%. This was the highest cost plan that they had available, so we use that as a point of comparison. And really what we're showing is the cost to the employee for all the different scenarios of dependence. You can see Post Falls is the only city that does require the employee to contribute to their own premium, and it's $40 a month. But as you go down, you can see, Coeur d'Alene for a full family is $169 a month. And for us, for a full family, is $816 per month. And that trend generally carries true across all of the cities, is that as you look at employee, spouse, and one child, it's 169, 251, 165, 257, and for us it's 701. So we definitely have, on the dependent care side, there's a much larger financial burden for our employees. We also did a comparison with the University of Idaho. This is that's a much larger, even those other cities are larger groups than us. They're probably typically employee range from 200 to 350 employees. University obviously is a much larger entity that I think self-funds their insurance program. But again, it's another public agency in town that I just thought would be helpful to have a comparison with. When you compare it to the university, they actually have a much larger employee contribution to their health insurance coverage, but they require the employee to contribute 183. But then as the dependents grow, the employee cost on the university side is generally significantly lower. So as you get to employee, spouse, and one child, it's 531. Same thing for full family with the university, and for us it's 701, and then again the 816 per month they have to contribute. Recent work we did to begin updating the city's strategic plan, one of the issue statements that was identified and submitted was the inability to recruit sufficient staff to perform essential city functions as being, one of the 13 areas challenging the city. Based on this, it's clear that our cost for dependent care is much larger, much higher than the 4 cities that we probably would be typically competing for employees with. That scale, just the increased cost, not the total cost, but on average, if you look at a full family for those 4 cities, they're $575 per month more on average, or just under $7,000 per year of additional expense. We did work pretty hard last year in completing the salary survey to make sure that we had compensation from salary side that was externally competitive. But we have to also layer the benefit cost on top of that. And so while we're targeting to get within 10% in the range in the marketplace on compensation, we are probably another 10 or 15% below on the benefit cost. Nearly 30% of our employees in our workforce earns less than $25 per hour, and that additional cost would represent 13% of their total gross income. And a new feature for health insurance plan portability test. And essentially, if cost an employee more than 9 income, you have to provide them access to the exchange so they can tax incentives or rebates to help reduce that cost of health insurance. Just our increase, just what an employee has to pay more than those other 4 cities, if that was their only household income, that would exceed the 9.4% just on the increase.
Will those people making under $25,000 with children, though, they're going to qualify for CHIP, aren't they?
We're going to
The Child's Health Insurance Program.
I'm not familiar with that program. That is something that we're going to be working on the open enrollment process this year to let people know. The affordability test was the new one that we knew that was going to be implemented this year. We will be educating employees about that opportunity. Health insurance consultant, the Murray Group, is working on developing a portal to help identify and share that information and facilitate access to the marketplace. But I'm not as familiar with that program.
It'd be interesting to know, because if like, I understand health insurance is awful. We're trying to relieve the burden on families that work for the city. I'm just wondering if there's other options out there, because it would be really helpful to know if they can get the federal insurance for their kids.
Yeah, and that's something we certainly can look into. I'm not familiar with that program. So as I mentioned, we certainly strive to provide, the best working environment for our employees, but at the end of the day, compensation benefits are going to have an impact on people's decisions, and it's going to have an impact on our ability to retain and to recruit employees. Ultimately, I think where the long-term goal would be is to getting us closer to 80% dependent coverage, but just that alone would cost us over $300,000 on an annual basis. So it's not something that I think we're in a position to do at this time, but certainly whatever we can do to incrementally work in that direction, especially not knowing where the economy is going to be going over the next couple of years here, we just need to be cautious but aware. So it is my recommendation. I made it to the mayor and to council leadership to shift to a 55% coverage this year for dependent care, with a commitment to work toward increasing that coverage over time. That's in addition, I think that changing to that 55% coverage, you'd see an average savings about $43.15 per month compared to what premiums would have been if we didn't change that. So this is, again, factoring in the premium increases. A full family would see a savings of about $81 per month if we did not make the change compared to what premiums would be moving into 2024 if we were to maintain the current coverage. This just kind of shows the two options. The employee cost, if we were to stick with the 50% dependent care, there on the second from the right, and then the employee's cost if we were to increase it to 55. That's not making a dramatic impact to reduce it to, being on par with the four cities. It is helping them avoid an increase in cost and a slight decrease from what they're paying today. But it's not making, a significant change. But I think it's a meaningful change to show not have an additional $81 a month, for a full family. But we still have some distance to go. And that's just what I want to identify. So this would be essentially the cost to them on a monthly basis compared to what they are currently paying. So the base plan in the center, essentially for a full family, it would save $23 per month from what they're currently paying and avoid the cost increase that would have otherwise occurred. It cuts on the 300 PPO plan, it cuts that increase down roughly in half. Full family was looking at $1,950 or $40 of increase over the year. It drops that down to $967. It drops that increase from $169 a month to $80 a month more that they have to pay. And then the HSA participants see a larger decrease as well. So a full family on the HSA plan would see a reduction of about $40 per month in savings since that premium did not increase as much. So as I mentioned, we are recommending to increase that to 55% with a commitment to try to further reduce that in future fiscal years while we monitor the city's financial health. The difficulty we're having right now, so the health insurance coverage is set per the personnel policy manual. We're moving into open enrollment starting here very quickly in June into July. So we have to wrap up open enrollment in July because our plan year begins in August. It's a bit of an odd plan year start because we shifted it ahead to try to get numbers for the budget process. We used to follow the calendar year was the plan year, but we now start our plan year in August. So it runs August through July. So we need to kind of have direction so we can print materials for employees, show what the costs are going to be moving forward. So we can do that, and that will be effective beginning in August. We then would come back with a policy update to reflect that change in coverage for the council's consideration at a future date. So that's all that I had. I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
I would really like you to look at the CHIP program because I think that this is probably not relevant for a lot of people because you have in Idaho, if you have a household size of 3 people, so let's say 2 adults and 1 kid or 1 adult and 2 kids, the monthly income cutoff is about $4,000, so $48,000 a year. So I'm just thinking that not a lot of our lower income earners are going to use this because they should qualify for CHIP, which is like Medicaid for kids.
But 40% of our employees have dependents on their plans. We haven't looked at it based on income level, but we do have a.
But it is. Oh, so you didn't look at it based on income level?
No.
Okay.
No. I just know that 40% of our employees have dependents on their plan. And we certainly can look at that. If that program is available, we can certainly make sure that employees are aware of that.
But in terms of this recommendation, I mean, this is hard. I mean, it's hard to say you're not going to get a lot of help, but you're getting some. And it's hard when you're behind so many other groups. That's always excruciating. And I'm sure if there hasn't been a lot of talk from employees, there will be when they're saying things. But it seems like this is the best thing we can do at this time. Is how I feel.
Yeah, it's not much.
Yeah.
I wish it was more.
Sure.
I think we just have to be careful moving forward. I mean, we are forecasting that in this fiscal year, in FY 2023, we're going to see a reduction of state share revenues about $200,000 less than what we budgeted for, and we're forecasting that into next year as well. The state is forecasting this dip happening in 23. They revised their estimates. They see it again decreasing in 24, but they're forecasting state share revenues to increase in 25, 26, and 27 beyond. And so it's something at this point in time, I think we need to do what we can, but I think we need to approach it in a cautious manner because it's not just, it's an ongoing recurring expense that will grow with whatever that percentage increase in the premium is over time. And so we will see that continued growth, and we just need to make sure that we have recurring revenues that can offset that cost and cover that.
Yep, I agree.
You want to make a recommendation this time?
Sure. Well, I think we have to recommend that we increase the dependent insurance premium coverage to 55%. Right? Is that what we're looking at?
Yeah, and it'd be best if I was anticipating we'd take this on regular agenda.
Yeah, I think so.
Just so we can have that talk with
Yep.
the full council.
Like
Just want to
that.
make sure that everybody has the opportunity to
Yeah.
have that conversation.
Yep. Thanks.
Okay. And I'll send you a link to this website so you can look at the CHIP program.
Sure.
See how that
Maybe
might
magic
factor
in a
in.
bottle.
There you go.
I mean, it should be helpful. It should.
No, it should. I didn't mean
A
to
lot
think
of
of
our employees should qualify. So it's one of the few health insurance helpful things that
Well,
yeah.
Yeah, my
the state
hope,
provides.
yeah, and I would hope that we could work towards making it affordable for everybody.
Right.
Our own program.
Well, and it seems like you have a pretty good track record of trying to do that over the years of coming in line where other people are and helping employees. And sometimes you can't do it all at once.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Bill. Any
Anything
updates? I don't have anything.
Nothing for staff.
All right.
I think
We
we
can
should
adjourn.
Good, thank you.